Alrighty, fellas, good morning. Yo, what's up? My name's Patrouski. Welcome back to another PokeMMO stream recap. How are we doing today? Jumping into the Lunar New Year event once again. I'll mostly be playing the Lunar New Year Andy account today, but I'm sure I'll also be answering some questions, hearing your guys' feedback, and just talking about the PokeMMO game in general, seeing what the active community looks like, seeing what's going on in the forums, the discussion. I think stream recaps are one of the best way to see what's happening inside the community without having to play the game 24 hours a day and actually be super involved. But you can hear the latest news, the latest discussions, what should be added to the game, what should be changed, people's thoughts on the slacking raid for the 500th time, etc. So welcome to the stream recap. Hopefully you find yourself enjoying it today. Hopefully you leave with a tip that maybe could help you enjoy PokeMMO more, have some more fun playing the game, or just make some extra progress. So once again, thanks for being here, and I hope you're playing PokeMMO and having a good day. All right, we had some rapid fire questions. Someone said, I hate how much this game cheats. It can feel like at times when you're doing the storylines that the AI know what you're going to do and stuff. I don't think they actually do. I think they just make proper decisions, but you can also abuse that. One of the things that's kind of under talked about in PokeMMO is that almost always they're going to use the super effective move. If they have it, obviously, use the correct move. The AI is pretty good in PokeMMO. It's not perfect, but the amount of times I'm facing down an electric type Pokemon as a water type and I get a free switch in into a grounds type almost happens every time in the storyline. So like you really can strategize and think like that, where I feel like in traditional Pokemon games, you're kind of just, the AI is just clicking random moves, unironically. So you're really just guessing. Like switching a ground type into an electric type could be a weirdly bad thing, or like if they randomly click a water move or click a Will-O-Wisp or something like that when they just had the free, attack. So that's kind of a nice thing, honestly, in my opinion. Someone said how much time is left in the Lunar New Year event. You can always see in the game. So there's 4 days and 6 hours left, so not too much. Someone said, was Shaman hard in your opinion? I think Shaman was the perfect amount of difficulty, personally. I think Shaman was like the perfect difficulty to end the raids off on. Once again, I've been outspoken about this. This is once again the 500th time we discussed slacking. I think slacking was too hard in comparison to the other raids, and that's all I'll say on that for today. I'm sure we're sick of hearing the same talking points. Here, this is a great question, and this is a point where I've been wrong in the past, and this is a really one to go and talk about. It's been a long time since this was a thing, and I've corrected it since, but a long time ago, I used to always say that, in my personal opinion, the rules weren't very clear. I always thought that playing BlueStack and PokeMMO at the same time, like having BlueStack up, even if you're just playing a mobile game, I recommend people not to do that, because there were so many people that were like, yeah, I got falsely banned just for playing BlueStack. If you don't know, BlueStack is a Android emulator used to essentially play mobile games on your PC. But people would always say, oh, I got falsely banned because I was using BlueStack to play a mobile game while playing PokeMMO, and they thought I was using that to play PokeMMO. The reason why playing PokeMMO on BlueStack is against the rules, from my understanding, I think that's true, like playing it on BlueStack at all is against the rules, is because that is a way for bot farms to get around the one login clause. You're only allowed to log in on PokeMMO like one character at a time per device, because it kind of stops bot farming. It prevents a lot of the bot problems that a lot of free-to-play MMOs have. If you ever played old school RuneScape free-to-play worlds, you understand how bad the botting problem is, because it's an easy to run game. You can run 20 clients, run 20 bots all at once, and just make new accounts when they get banned, and it's really easy to keep going. PokeMMO subverted that problem by kind of having all these rules and having all of these stipulations. But eventually the devs were like, they came out and they were like, no. Playing a BlueStack, playing a mobile game while playing PokeMMO will not get you banned. And I had an epiphany where I was like, fuck, I took all of these people who were getting banned, I took their word, and I was trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, because I'm a big fan of second chances. But most of them, and there's probably maybe some, false ban, most of them are probably bullshit. They were all probably like, oh, I just got falsely banned because it must have been I was running BlueStack. I was like, no, you probably fucking cheated, bro. Like, you probably broke the rules, which sucks. Like, I try to always assume the best of people when they say they get banned, but in reality, you got to keep in mind. So you can actually, the point of the question you're asking, you can play BlueStack, you can play a mobile game, from my understanding, and play PokeMMO on the side. You just cannot play PokeMMO on BlueStack, I believe, at all. It might just be you can't play PokeMMO on your PC and on BlueStack, but this is another consideration. I wouldn't even play PokeMMO on BlueStack. I wouldn't, because there's just no reason to. If you have a computer, why would you be doing that unless you're like on some super weird operating system that can't run PokeMMO, but I don't know, like Ubuntu. I don't know, like, if that exists. I don't know. I don't know if that exists though. I don't know enough about that. So yeah, that's a great question about BlueStacks. I'm a new player. I'm halfway through my first region. I have about 100K and I really want to start investing a bit. Any suggestions? I would personally recommend investing into your account more so than like making like actual like investments. I don't think it's worth to make investments in PokeMMO, like trying to like long-term make money on something until you have about maybe 5 to 10 mil. You could make short-term investments with like 3 to 5 mil into like Riches Charms. If you want to make a long-term investment, maybe something like a let me check my teammates' HP really quick. You want to like invest in like lucky red envelopes or like some sort of sealed product. I strongly recommend waiting until you have about 10 mil and then buying a bunch of sealed product, lucky reds, Xmas presents, goodie bags, etc., and then be willing to sit on those for at least 2 years. I try to always tell people, if you're not willing to sit on an investment for at least 2 years, you're probably not ready to invest yet. It's a very, very long-term strategy. Investing is one of the most powerful things in PokeMMO, but it's also not free money. It kind of is if you have patience, but a lot of players, we find out during other events, when other events are up, the FOMO kicks in, people start panic selling. We kind of notice like most people don't have that patience. I don't want you to waste your time and waste your money if you know that you may be someone who doesn't have that patience. There's nothing wrong with that. It's good to understand what kind of person you are, your strengths and weaknesses. If maybe you don't have patience right now at this point in your life to wait 2 years on a video game investment, like that's a very reasonable position for a very reasonable person. But if you have 100K Pokeyen, I would buy some sort of catching Pokemon. You could breed your own Jimmy Run type Flosions, invest into your account in a way that's going to help you make more Pokeyen down the line. Hey Pat, I have 2 phase/EV training shinies that are rotting in my boxes. What should I do with them? I don't really want to sell them, but maybe I could trade them for a shiny I want more or something like that. There's a few things you can do, like 2 main things, I guess, that you can do with unwanted OT shinies. You could just sell them, which you said you don't want to do, but you could just sell them. Or the second one that I think is kind of cool, and there's probably more creative options. The second one that I think is kind of cool that someone brought up, I think Team Mister started doing this to some extent. You could trade them with your friends. So trading with your friends, like, hey, here's a phase shiny that I have. I'll trade you like my OT phase shiny for your OT phase shiny, and then you kind of have like a little connection with that friend. It's almost, I guess, like, what's the equivalent? Like fucking matching tattoos or some shit. It's cool. It's cute. If you want to do that, I think it's a really cool option. If you don't have friends in PokeMMO and you don't want to sell it, maybe just let it rot in the box. I don't know what else. Dude, okay, I gotta talk about this because this is really funny. Talk about like what's going on in the PokeMMO community. I respect this, okay? Logically, if there's a need in the market for it and people want to do it, more power to you. I got asked, hey man, what do you think about PokeMMO banking in the game? And I was like, what do you, like, do you mean like loans? Like giving people out loans? And he was like, pretty much, yes. He said, from my perspective, I've taken a one-time loan of 10 million Pokeyen with my shiny as a security deposit for 10% interest per week. I've started to learn flipping and now I'm making decent Pokeyen. But it feels like if you know how to use Pokeyen, what do you say? If it works for you, more power to you. I think that's a really interesting opportunity for both the person and the player. It makes me want to laugh so much, the idea of adding interest rates and like loans and like fucking what taxes are next. We're gonna fucking add mortgages. Like there's something really funny about let's add all of the most boring, dry, like worst parts of being an adult. Let's fucking throw those into this game that we love and play for fun. Like something's really funny about it. But at the end of the day, logically, if it's making 2 people happy and you're having a good trade of services, more power to you. What's it matter? But it does make me want to laugh so hard, and I hope you understand that. Someone said, Pat, did you see Ditto's hit 7K? What do you think about that? I haven't seen that. That's disgusting if that's true. I mean, there's still 5K a piece now, it seems like. But I assume for maybe they've all been like the last 40 minutes. So I assume at one point, even, I'm going to be so honest, even Ditto's hitting 7K for like a split second is kind of crazy. That's really, really wild. Like people may forget, but like just, I think 2 years ago, Ditto's were 3,000 Pokeyen on the GTL. Like that was the average price, And it slowly went up to 3K to 4K to 4,200, 4,500 for the longest time. It was like 4K to 4,200. And then it kind of creeped up to 5K after more changes and really just the increase demand for rare shiny hunters. I think the biggest thing it should show, what's interesting about the Ditto market is that it shows two things. It shows a decline in intermediate to beginner players, which is a little unfortunate because they should be the ones Ditto farming. But to be fair, Ditto farming is just not as good as a moneymaker right now, even though the Dittos are worth so much. So it's a weird economy thing. But as well as it also shows, so I'm clicking moves. It also shows a drastic increase, in my personal opinion. It shows a drastic increase in hardcore players, in veteran players, right? People who are doing Ditto shunts, egg shunts, rare shunts. Those are your like most hardcore, most dedicated players. So to have that many people doing them to where it's like really like noticeable in the economy, it's a good thing. It's like, oh shit, people are one of the hardest thing, the biggest problem we have in PokeMMO is bridging the gap from new player to, or sorry, from intermediate player to endgame player. A lot of players are new players. They do a great job. They play for a few hundred hours. They pop off. They make a lot of progress. Become incredible intermediate players very, very quickly. Like very, very talented. We get a lot of really good beginners into intermediate players. We don't get a lot of those intermediate players becoming veteran players, and it's just hard. The jump from intermediate to veteran is bigger. It takes more time. A lot of people feel lost. It's one of the biggest, not even one of the biggest problem in PokeMMO is that a lot of people feel lost after finishing all 5 regions. After finishing all 5 regions, what do you do? And I try to work so hard to hopefully answer that question, to make daily content, to entertain alongside. Go check out 63 things to do. If you're struggling with what to do in game, please go check out 63 things to do. I think it's like the most important guide that I've made personally, hopefully answering and helping players make goals and figure out what to do. There is tons to do in PokeMMO. I truly believe PokeMMO has infinite content. It's more of a sandbox game like Minecraft than it is a game like a traditional like Fire Red Pokemon game where there's not that much to do after you finish the storyline, right? There's not that much post game in Fire Red, in my opinion, after you beat the islands and stuff like that, right? But there's a lot of content in PokeMMO, but it can be difficult to find it or difficult to know what to do, right? And not everybody wants to stick that out, you know, which is understandable. I had that same problem with EVE Online. One of the few games I'm pretty stubborn and I usually stick with games pretty hard, but one of the few games I couldn't get into was EVE Online. It's just very, very complex, very convoluted, been around for a long time. The hardest problem I had was, what do you do? I didn't have a direction. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to grind. I kept getting destroyed by my ships, destroyed by endgame players. I didn't know how to progress or a path of progression. I tried to look up videos and watch content, and there wasn't a whole lot there. So I think content can really carry a game in that degree. And I could do a lot better job, a lot better at that, as well as hopefully just encourage PokeMMO to make things like achievements, to make things like permanent raids, which they're working on. They're working on fixing the end game they're working on fixing that problem. They've been trying to fix this problem for a while. They know it exists. They're trying to fix it, and they're getting there. So I have really high hopes for the future of PokeMMO, but yeah. What was the initial question? Yo, Pat, saw your Shaman video. Any goals left for the main account? I don't think so for the event. I think my main account is literally done for the event. I could go like buy some extra things, like make some few investments, or like buy little like small cheap vanities here and there. But I think the main account is like, we did Zodiac Masters, we did Shaman, we did all the raids, we did all the swarms. I think I completed the main, which feels really, really good. I'm not gonna lie, really satisfying. This is a good question, and I have a very optimistic, positive lens and view of new players in Pokemon that you can succeed very, very well. I think there's been so many changes that it's never too late to start Pokemon, etc., etc. But this might be the one thing that I don't think, obviously, the average new player is capable of. It's possible that one day, if you're really good or really exceptional, you can even overcome that. But the question is, hey Pat, in today's game, how can a player buy an orange skull or a Q hat? It's been very expensive for as long as I've been playing for 2 years. I'm only able to get Shadow Bone Club. the difference between, I think most PokeMMO players, even that's like a club that I'm even not part of, you know? Like, people think that I'm, you know, rich in PokeMMO because I have, you know, a few $100 million net worth, which I'm really happy to have, and I've worked very hard for it over the past 4 years or so, and some good privilege and luck with being a streamer and yada yada yada. Some good investments, bad investments, yada, you know, whatever, right? But man, when you make the jump from like a vanity that's 30 mil, that's an expensive, high-end goal vanity for average players, for 99.9% of players. But then you make the jump to something like an orange skull, which is like a few billion, right? You make the jump to the Q hat, which is, I don't even feel super comfortable making price calls on those vanities anymore because a lot of people seem to, it's very like contentious. I think Q hat is a few billion as well. What's a few billion? I don't even know. Like, they're traded so infrequently that they're very, very rare. And then you have beyond the Q hat's one of the cheaper, I believe, right? One of the cheaper mega rares. You have the Desu Lab Coat and the Electric Storm, right? These are two vanities that the average player probably doesn't even know exists, understandably so, because they cost 10 to 20 billion Pokeyen, which is an astronomical number that most players hear, and you're like, how does that even happen? How does someone even get that much Pokeyen? And unless you are truly exceptional, no, there's two ways. Number one, you're an old player who just has this old money and has these old investments and those old vanities, and you just got it, which that happens. And there's something to be said about advantage from being in on the ground floor. And I think that's it just happens. It's life, you know, just how it goes, right? However, there are players, I don't want to make people feel like it's not possible, because it is possible. It's just very hard. It's very, very hard. There was a player in Team Mister who I think either came back to the game, I think he came back to the game, and went from 0 Pokeyen to 1 billion within 1 year of flipping in PokeMMO. Now, that takes a lot of commitment, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of game knowledge, a lot of patience, and I mean, a fair bit of capital along the way, but he literally went from 0, like he made the capital. So like, you can't even really call it that, you know? And then there are people like Xanarchy or other, I know people who have made, I think Quacks is like the classic example. There are people who have like 16 gym rerun alts, and they'll do like gym reruns on 16 accounts a day. And if you do that for like a while, that's 16 hours a day. I would never expect anybody or tell anybody to do that. That's ridiculous. But let's do a reasonable number, a more reasonable, right, quote unquote. Let's say you have 4 to 6 alts that all do storylines. You know, the high end is 16, the average is probably 2. Let's go somewhere like, let's say you have 6 alt accounts, still kind of high, but sure, right? Let's say you have 6 alt accounts and you do gym reruns on them every day for not quite a year. Let's just do a year. Let's fuck it, right? So what you would do is you would do 6 times. Let's say you do a decent gym rerun that makes pretty good Pokeyen, but not the best. Let's say you make 350. I'm underestimating in a lot of ways. Let's say you make 350k profit per account, right? That's 2.1 million Pokeyen per day for 6 hours. Multiply that by 365, you end up with 766 million Pokeyen. Maybe I'm crazy. I think that's like, now that would be really dreadful and drive most people insane. But if you have the dedication, the patience, and the motivation to do so, that's a pretty fucking insane result, right? That's pretty crazy in my opinion. 766 million Pokeyen within 1 year. 6 hours a day is a lot, obviously. But if you cut that in half, maybe do 3 hours a day. 3 hours a day I think is very viable. You know, let's say we divide it by 2, 383 million a year. I think it's more extreme progress like that is more viable than people realize. It's just long term, the same way any MMO is. If you're not in for the long haul with PokeMMO, or not in for the long haul, then you're never going to make the kind of progress, which is okay. It's understandable, you know. It's okay to adjust your goals based on how you want to play the game. If you plan to play PokeMMO for 5 years, then these things are viable and you can try to plan long term, right? If you plan to play PokeMMO for a summer with your friends, just playing through the storylines and having a nostalgic blast of a time, there's nothing wrong with either of these playstyles. It's more like what is healthy for you, what is fun for you, what's enjoyable, etc., right? There's nothing wrong with being a casual Pokemon player or a hardcore one, as long as you're taking care of your responsibilities, you know, paying your rent, hygiene, taking care of yourself, right? But I'm assuming we're doing that, right? I think it's a cool thing. I think people can play the game the way they want to. I think progress can be made. You just have to think long term, and you have to be dedicated and patient, you know? It's the same with going to the gym or anything like that. You have to kind of make just small, slow progress every single day, and it just takes a long time. Dude, our very own Tom Hosnier, and like the definition of a regular in stream chat, just got himself, look at these stats, dude. Naughty Nature's good, bro. 25 plus attack. It's missing like the defenses, but like 25, 28 attack, 29 speed, 31 HP, female as well. He got himself a shiny Gabite, but it's not just any shiny Gabite. This was a swarm shiny Gabite. That's sick, dude. Also, it looks really good. Like way better than Garchomp, unfortunately. Bro, a swarm shiny, no matter the species, and that's a good one. It's like a Gabite. That's so insane, man. Congratulations, Tom. That's so... He said it was 11 months dry. That's so sick to see you get a shiny like that, dude. A swarm shiny is so cool. This is a really interesting question, and it's kind of out of my depth. I don't have a good answer for it, but we can just talk about it. Hey, Patrouski, how are you? Do you feel like old Vanities are actually becoming cheaper due to no players pursuing them? For instance, I've seen Ghost Costume for around 800 mil in trade chat. I don't know what's happening. I don't know the reason, but yeah. Old Vanities are getting cheaper. I don't know if it's because there's just less buyers, more people willing to sell them, the pixel art changes. One of the most infamous ones recently was the Demon Flaming Skulls, okay? The Demon Flaming Skulls. Demon Skull, sorry. These were added to the game, right? And they are really cheap now, but they look really fucking cool, right? Well, prior to these being added, there was another Flaming Skull that existed, but I don't even know if we can actually... Will it pop up? Oh, yeah, it's this one. Yeah, the blue Flaming Skull. So this is the blue Flaming Demon Skull, and this is a normal blue Flaming Skull. These used to be too expensive to be on the GTL. These were over the cash stack, over the, like, 2.2 billion, you know, limit. Now... we're seeing these on the GTL because their price has dropped enough to where they can be on the GTL. And it's kind of crazy. It's a really, it's pretty nuts. And yeah, we're seeing the same thing with like Scythe, I think. I think Scythe is under 300 or under 350 mil. That's really crazy. This Vanity is like pretty infamously around 500 to 600 mil. I don't know about Candy Cane. How's that doing? I think this has fallen too. Wasn't this like 300 mil for a long time? Like, it kind of does seem like Ghost Costume. I don't know. Now, I don't know Ghost Costume's what its normal price is. So we see one for $1 mil here. I don't know what this thing is normally cost is the problem. During events in general, I think old Vanities and stuff like this do drop during events because players come back to the game and have them in their inventory and want to make a bunch of money or sell them off or whatever. But I'm pretty shocked, man. Black Plague. I don't know all the causes. I can have my own conjecture and my thoughts and stuff like that, but yeah, Black Plague has dropped as well. A lot of these older, really expensive Vanities are dropping. I don't know why. I can't fully explain it. I just have some things, but it's pretty crazy. It's pretty drastic, man. This is a great question, and I see a lot of misinformation about this, so I'm glad I can answer it. This is I could be wrong, but this is my understanding. Someone said, or someone in chat says, someone told me that strings don't do anything if you have text set at instant. Is that true? The truth is, the PokeMMO devs have been trying to get rid of custom strings for a while. They don't like them in the game. It's something that I predicted as far back as like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I talked about how eventually, in my opinion, they'll end up standardizing strings, which is exactly what they're doing. Strings still do have some effect. I don't use them personally this is like, you don't have to do this. This is like kind of a little silly, but out of respect to the devs, because they want to get rid of them, so I don't use them, but they still allow them, so like you still can use them if you want to. There are still things that are affected by strings. Specifically, I actually noticed this recently because I still have strings installed on my laptop, but not on my computer, my desktop, right? So I noticed when playing the storyline off stream, strings make the storyline faster still. That's probably one of the biggest ones, is getting rid of certain text boxes and text in like the Unova storyline, which has a lot of yapping, a lot of dialogue. So strings still do have some effect with certain things, but it is drastically lessened and not as beneficial on the main things, from my understanding, that they used to be used for. like gym reruns and stuff, but they still might speed up. I just don't know enough, to be honest, but that's my understanding. They still have an effect, but it's minimal compared to what it used to be, thankfully, in my personal opinion. If OT Pokemon are a requirement for certain raids, what 3-ish Pokemon would you suggest I focus on / powering up first? This is a great question. Like, what are Pokemon that can work for multiple raids? Usually some sort of Sun team and then utility Pokemon. So things like a Prankster Murkrow is probably the easiest you need for a million different raids. Prankster Tailwind, etc. So Prankster Murkrow is really good. Prankster Sableye and Whimsicott can also work, but they're kind of different things. You only need one of those. And then probably some sort of Sun team. So a Drought Ninetales, a Solar Powered Charizard is really good. And then some of the highest, then Fighting type is really good as well. Some of the highest DPS Fighting type mons include things like Mienshao, things like Metacham with Pure Power. Dude, Hitmonlee is really good as well. I don't have one of those, but it's very, very good. Those are some of the mons. Infernape, Darmanitan is a really good. Darmanitan just always does max damage. Like, it's so, you know, insane. Gallade with Sacred Sword and Sharpness can be super good. There's a lot of options, but those are some of the big ones off the top of the head. That's a great question. All right, in typical Patrouski fashion, we went from disconnecting in PokeMMO and not being able to log in for 20 minutes into the stream dying from a disconnect. So that's going to be the end of it today, unfortunately. I had a really fun stream today, though. Really good stream recap, in my opinion. A lot of really good questions from chat. I feel like so often, you know, it's carried by you guys and carried by good questions, interesting conversations, and just what's happening in the community. So thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for being involved. Thank you for asking me questions. Thanks for playing the game in the way that you enjoy it. And thank you for watching the video. Like it if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel for daily PokeMMO videos. You can follow me on Twitch to see these streams live as well, of course. Discord's down below if you're interested in that. If you want to go above and beyond and support the channel, YouTube memberships, Twitch Primes, Twitch subs, and PayPal/Venmo donations do go an extremely long way in allowing me to make the content that I do. I could not be here without you guys. So hopefully you enjoy it, and hopefully it's worth your time. Have a great day. Enjoy PokeMMO. Play it the way you enjoy, and see you guys later. Peace, Reno. Hey, thank you so very much for watching until the very end of the video. That means the world to me. And if your name is listed here, you're the reason I'm able to do this in the first place by going above and beyond and supporting the channel via YouTube memberships and Twitch Primes. Thank you so much. Have a great day.